Today I want to talk about The Lion Queen by Frazetta. I first became aware of this piece in 1969. It was published in black and white on the cover of a fanzine called Frazetta #1. And everyone that saw it at that time was mesmerized by it. And everybody wondered what it looked like in color. So for decades, I wondered where this piece was. Every time I would go visit Frazetta, I would ask him, "Have you found it? Have you found it?" We spent many, many hours looking through his house trying to find this piece. We looked through back bedrooms, we looked through the attic, we looked through his closets, we looked through his art cabinets, we looked everywhere. Frank finally said, "I give up." He said, "My wife probably stuck it in a book somewhere and it'll come out eventually." At one point, I was actually going through all the books trying to find it. I wanted to see it. I had seen everything else. I haven't seen this piece. Well, the history of this piece is interesting, and you can read about it in the catalog. I won't go through that again here. I also have a long story about it on my website. I mean, very, very briefly, this piece, the reason why Frank couldn't find it is because it was stolen. And it was stolen from him by a best friend. That led to a long thing with the FBI holding the piece. It couldn't be sold, and ultimately I was able to buy it. Long story, long interesting history on this particular piece. But in any case, whenever I'd have collectors come to my house, I'd show them everything: watercolors, studies, drawings, paintings, photos, everything. And usually after you've looked at these things for 4 or 5 hours, there's aesthetic overload. Anybody that's been to an art convention knows what aesthetic overload is. You simply can't look at any more. One of my professors told me, "David, if you go to a great museum, you can only really look at 2 or 3 masterpieces in a day. There's not enough human energy in the body to absorb any more." Well, in any case, what I would do to people coming to my home is I would hold that piece back and bring it out at the very end. When everybody was relaxing, having a cup of coffee, a can of pop, and sitting back and just reveling in what they had just seen, then I would bring out the Lion Queen. And lo and behold, there was plenty of energy left. Everybody would just go crazy. It was the ultimate showstopper. They could not believe what they were looking at. And indeed, if you wanted to just own one Frazetta and cover all the bases, this would be the one to own, because it really represents the essence of what Frazetta was going to be. Bear in mind, this piece was done in 1960. He was in the process of leaving Little Abner, or having just left Little Abner, and he was trying to figure out what he could do, what was inside of him. Could he make an impact back in the fantasy, science fiction, paperback industry? I mean, what was there? And so he sat down and he did this. And as a matter of fact, I wrote a long essay on this, and the title of it was "One Quiet Night Frazetta Begins to Dream." And I talked about the fact that Frazetta had a little sketchbook, and he sat down on his couch. And at that time, he had a zebra skin couch. He had that with him for years and years and years. And he would sit on the left side of the couch, turn on the light. He had a bunch of colored pencils there, and he would just start sketching out little scenes. There would be nudes, there would be Indians, there would be cowboys, there would be cavemen, all these little scenes. As a matter of fact, right behind me on the wall, right in the middle under my self-portrait, there's another nude, and that was the nude study that he did just before he did the Lion Queen. You'll see an excellent reproduction of that in the catalog. If I can possibly figure out how to do it, I'll add it to this video, but that takes time and effort. I'm not sure if I want to go through all the study that would require to add that to the video. In any case, Frazetta sat there over the course of 1 or 2 nights, and he simply pulled out of his imagination once again all of these different scenes. Some of them were fantastic, some of them were realistic. He had dinosaurs in them, and obviously he was pretty happy with them. And at the very end, he decided to work on something a little more ambitious, a little more elaborate, and so he started to do the Lion Queen. And in this particular piece, you have an encapsulation and an essentializing of all the major themes that would become important to Frazetta later on. You've got the tremendous female, the sensuality, the eroticism. You've got the exotic vegetation. You've got the ancient city in the background. You've got the wonderful cat alongside of her. So all of these themes, women, animals, ancient cities, exotic vegetation, these are all the themes that he would employ in all of his subsequent pieces. 4 years after that, he did Tarzan the Invincible, the piece that we have on the wall directly behind us. Once again, these are fascinating pieces because he did it before he figured things out. He was experimenting, he was searching, he was looking for things. But one thing Frazetta could always do, he could draw women. This man knew women better than anybody else. He used to tell me before he got married, he said, "Dave, I never missed a day." He loved women, he loved sex, and that preoccupation with sexuality and the erotic, it just flows out of all of Frazetta's drawings, paintings, watercolors, colored pencil drawings, everything. That sensuality is absolutely undeniable. So here you have the beginning of Frazetta's career and one of the most truly remarkable pieces I can possibly think of. Once again, right out of his imagination, once this piece was published in color, usually they had saturated the colors and jacked them up a little bit. When you see the original, you're in for a shock because the colors are very, very soft, very subtle blendings of these colors. Your eye and your intellect is drawn immediately into the piece. There's nothing harsh about this piece at all. It's never been exposed to direct light. It's never been exposed to indirect light. It's always been hidden away in cabinets for the life of the piece. It's never been on public display. It's one of the premier pieces in my collection, and it's really one piece I really hate to give up. There's so many interesting little touches here. The breastplates, the light reflecting off the breastplates, the drop shadows that he put on her necklace, the face, the little beauty mark that he added to the cheek. There's so many subtle touches here. It's just remarkable what this man could do. Many people that have looked at this, they said, "My God, a human being couldn't have drawn this. It's done too perfectly. It's absolutely perfect." And of course, the only flaw in the piece is a tiny little mark right here, the tiniest of little coffee stains, which is the ultimate signal of authenticity for Frazetta. Once again, he did most of these things, and when he was looking at them after he was done, he was at his drawing board drawing. He'd always have a coffee cup there. If he was sitting on the zebra skin couch, he would have a coffee cup to his left, and he would pick up that coffee cup with his right hand. So every time he wanted to have a sip of coffee, that coffee cup had to go in front of his mouth over the piece of art. So if there was any coffee dripping, it usually ended up on a sketch page or a drawing or a painting. So you'll find a whole range of Frazetta drawings with a whole different range of coffee stains, coffee rings. I'm sure a short article could be written just about the relationship between Frazetta and coffee stains. But in here, obviously, this is a mark of complete satisfaction. He drank that coffee, he looked at it, a little drop of coffee dropped on it. I can hear him saying now, "God damn it." But that's Frazetta. In any case, whoever gets this piece out of the auction, boy, they are going to be happy, and they're going to have a piece that they're going to treasure for the rest of their lifetime. Thanks again. This is the Lion Queen. The piece that just came before it is the colored pencil drawing on the wall. The piece that came shortly thereafter, one of the great ace covers over here, Tarzan the Invincible. We'll talk about some more things later. Thanks again.